Commissioner Capano.
Present.
Commissioner Calucci is absent. Commissioner Ellis.
Present.
Commissioner Frudian.
Present.
And Commissioner Trahan.
Present. Minutes of previous meeting.
Motion.
Motion made to accept. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Procurements, Betty?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The commission recently, in conjunction with the Northeast Merrimack Valley Chemical Consortium, consisting of 66 local communities, recently solicited bids for the water treatment plant's chemicals. The attached memorandum is a copy of the breakdown of the chemical bids utilized by the water treatment plant based on estimated county chemical costs, which will be slightly due to the higher fuel costs this year. All bids and prices were reviewed by Superintendent Shaw, who recommends contract award. The lowest bid is on the attached memo. The estimated quantities and prices as listed in the amount of $568,000 for fiscal year 19. I therefore recommend the commission authorize a one-year contract awarded to the attached list of chemical consortium companies for the estimated quantities and pricing as bid for fiscal year 19.
Make a motion to approve.
Second motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Capano.
Yes.
Commissioner Calucci is absent. Commissioner Ellis.
Yes.
Commissioner Frudian.
Yes.
And Commissioner Trahan.
Yes.
Okay, the next bid. We recently solicited a request for qualifications for general engineering consulting services. Legal notices were published in the Lynn Daily Item and the Commission's website with 16 sets of specifications distributed. The intent of this RFQ is to execute up to 3 contract service agreements renewal on an annual basis for 3 years with highly qualified full-service multidiscipline firms experienced in providing general engineering consulting services with capabilities in various general civil engineering disciplines as described in the scope of services. On May 30th, I received 5 proposals from the following firms: CBM Smith, Boston, Mass., Ty and Bond, Worcester, Mass., Weston and Sampson Engineer, Peabody, Mass., Jacobs Engineering Group Incorporated, Boston, Mass., Environmental Partners, Quincy, Mass. The technical proposals were turned over to the evaluation committee, consisting of the executive director O'Neill, chief engineer Marino, and deputy director Fennell for their review and evaluation based on a 0 to 100 point ranking system with less than 80 points unacceptable. The evaluation committee reported that they deemed 4 of the respondents' proposals highly advantageous, meeting all requirements of the RFQ. Their recommendation, based on the qualification, it is the committee's unanimous recommendation that the commission award a 1-year contract agreement to the following 3 firms: CDM Smith Incorporated, Weston and Sampson Engineers, and Ty and Bond Incorporated. The engineering department requests appropriation of funding for fiscal year 19 in the amount of $500,000, renewable on an annual basis for up to 3 years at the discretion of the commission.
Can you please talk a little louder so we can hear you over here?
I make a
Certainly.
motion, Mr. Chairman, that we award the contract.
Motion made. Do I hear a second on the motion? Chair will second the motion. Discussion on the motion?
So, on an annual basis, that means every year we review it?
And you vote
Yeah,
again
yeah.
as to whether or not you want to
Continue
continue
it,
with these particular
yeah.
firms, yes.
And the different contractors have, I think it's like it says, have various specialties that they're good at, so the combination of the 3 of them gives you what you need.
Yes, and it provides competition as well.
All between them.
Yes.
Okay.
So if we have someone that's very good in dam work, we're required to do inspections of dam or treatment facility work and so forth, like you said.
Yeah, okay.
That way, Peter, too, if one firm gets a little too busy, then you have others.
You have a backup.
Right. Any other discussion on the motion? Go, Dave.
I don't understand why we don't just pick out, like we had in the past, one person to provide those services. And we keep opening up and having small bidders come in and get pieces of the work that you could have done by a larger firm. Overall, most of the years that the water and sewer has been in existence, we depended upon one point person that had good knowledge and skills to do that role, that important role. And we didn't have, I can see a very different skill set between the different groups from knowing them over the years. And so I don't know why we're taking ones that would have in a three-bigger contest been knocked out and then saying, hey, let's give them work. So I don't support that.
Any other discussion on the motion?
Is there any of these firms that have all the skills that would be necessary? But then you have the, what you had said, in case someone can't do it, the other one
We got backup.
is a backup.
Yeah, they're all qualified, they've all been approved. Am I right, Danny?
Yes.
We got
We went
firms,
through a process, right, yes.
we have firms there that could do the work. We've had work for that service go through a single source before in the past, while we're in the middle of consent decree and actually in the street doing construction.
Any other discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Sure. Commissioner Capano?
Yes.
Commissioner Calucci is absent. Commissioner Ellis?
No.
No. Commissioner Kudian?
Yes.
And Commissioner Trahan?
Yes. Okay, projects update. Martina?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The wastewater treatment plant met all regulatory requirements for the month of May. The flow was average 20.32 MGD. We had 1.66 inches of rain, and the BOD and TSS removals were well above what is required in the 80s, almost 90s. Relic Farms we're getting a little bit less BOD and TSS loading from them. We processed 579 tons of sludge in May, and the plant's BOD and TSS removals are very good. That's my report.
Peter?
Have they contacted anybody, Garlic Farms, you know, about their plans or when they're exactly gonna close?
I haven't heard anything.
Not me, no.
No, no. And we don't have any type of formal communication with them other than your report, right? I mean, that's, do we?
Well, we know the plant manager there.
Yeah.
And occasionally we talk to him or Rayanna talks to them, but I don't, from my perspective, he wasn't in the loop as to what's going on, so.
Oh.
Yeah, Diane is the industrial pretreatment coordinator. She's here tonight, so she'd probably be the most knowledgeable person relative
So
to.
I reached out to the plant manager, Aubrey, myself after reading about it, and they still don't know a lot of the details themselves. So they don't know if it's gonna be September, October, they're not sure, but. I'm
October,
trying-
but-
They're not sure, but he really doesn't even know, so they're in the dark, just as much as everyone else is, unfortunately. But they will be closing.
Just not to digress too much here, I don't want to get off, but do you know anything about their maintenance of the, you know, the big vat that's in the back there? I mean,
Their wastewater treatment plant?
the odor from that thing is like incredible at times now. I don't know if they stopped maintaining it or,
Are you referring to their wastewater treatment plant?
Yes,
at Dumpstas?
yes.
Yeah, that's inspected daily, and there's a specific line item on the inspection sheet for odors. And I went over it for the last year, and there was less than 10 times where it was noted that there was an odor.
Yeah,
And so, I mean,
they're
there's
not, who documents that? Because it's way more than that, it's, yeah,
Veolia.
Viola, our contract
Viola,
operator, they do
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And there's also been no measurements with any sort of instrument, it's all just been,
yeah.
you know, opinion up until this point,
Yeah.
so.
I'm just trying to find out, you know, 'cause
Yeah, no,
it's really bad.
there's a lot of
Some of the businesses have had to send people home, so it's really
Yeah, well,
bad, yeah, so.
Yeah, I guess we don't have to worry about that.
All right, okay, thank you, thank you.
Any other questions for Bob? Okay, thank you, Bob. Rick, you're up
Yes,
next.
Mr. Chairman, the Water and Sewer Commission is in compliance with all federal and state drinking water regulations. The water supply capacity as of yesterday was at 81%. The average of this time of year is 84%. All 10 of the contract positions at the water treatment plant are currently filled. Veolia Water hired Ryan Farmer to fill the operator position that was vacant since August 29. In regards to the chlorine conversion, the Lynn Water and Sewer Commission continues to work with Weston and Sampson to update the MADP on changes that we made to the contract drawings. We've settled on one of the terms on regarding flow pacing in the reservoir, and we're still working on the pre-disinfection changes with them now. We expect that to be completed within the next week or two. As soon as that's done, we'll bring our contract specs and plans to the board, ready for bid.
Any questions for Rick? There are no questions. Thank you, Rick.
Yep.
CSO update, Danny.
Tony from Tetra Tech and Mr. Van Hoven. David from Stantec is here. We're proceeding with the preliminary design that you approved back a while ago. And it looks like Tony stated last meeting that we're gonna be on schedule and on budget and all, everything looks good. We did get a package from Stantec relative to final design, as we were directed at the last meeting. And we're looking through that, and we just got it last week. And we'll get back to you at some point when we sit down and talk about the specifics of what's included, what's in the scope of work. And we didn't get anything relative to a price, so we have a little ways to go. But it's proceeding pretty well, and Tony and David both here.
Yeah, so, a couple things. So, we're on schedule, that's good for preliminary design, right? Or-
Yes.
Tony? And so, I was wondering, I'm sure I have it here somewhere, the timetable for the next phase after July, and just a summary, and I know you just got it, but of what the next phase entails. You guys, could you elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, so we'll have in the preliminary design report, we'll have a schedule and what we're planning for phasing and how we do all this, right? Because our plan right now is not to bid this all as one contract. You know, that'd be too large for most contractors in the area. We'd like to break it up into smaller packages. So that's our plan right now. So the final design scope that we're envisioning is moving ahead with the design of all the different components, permitting the pump station and things like that, and then getting to the point where next year we'd be putting out to bid the first construction contract in a series of 4 or 5 construction contracts.
So the next milestone is final designs for the entire area.
Okay.
But as Dave said, the first piece will be the real area of focus.
Okay. And what is the timetable? And, you know, we had this July, when is the next phase supposed to be done? Do we know?
So
or is there a timetable?
We just have construction completion dates, which I believe are 2023.
Okay.
But as soon as we submit it to the state and the feds on July of 19, we'll have a turnaround period, and then based on that approval, we'll advertise, put out the bid, and start construction.
Yeah.
So you're figuring in July of 19, maybe, I don't know, 6 months, 3 months, and then we start, evaluating the bids and picking a contractor and so forth.
Beautiful.
So the next milestone after this July for the report is next July for plans.
Okay. All right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I just add one thing, like Dan said, it's October of '23 is when this project is going to be completed. So we'll phase them in the next 4.5 years.
Right.
To reach those goals, so that's
Beautiful. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Go ahead, Dave.
In your design, at what point did you have the portion for the, looks like possibly needed pump station in the River Street neighborhood as part of your plan?
So we don't have the full schedule of how all these are going to be phased out. And again, once we submit that to DEP and the feds, I'm sure they'll have some feedback of things that they may or may not want to see done earlier. So as part of final design, we'll be pushing different components of the different phases ahead, and then permitting and other things will be trying to dictate which order they're going to go in, as well as coordination with other things that are going on with street improvements and things to find the most optimal way to phase this to get the best bang for the buck.
So at what point will that have the River Street, Camden Street area, that neighborhood's flood relief?
So as part of the final design, we'll be looking at,
Give me a date, when that'll be.
specifically for that one, we haven't phased those out, so it would have to be included by the October 2023. You know, if we phased it earlier, this would be done earlier than that.
That area was hit with historically significant flooding that really impacted people's safety in their housing. And people had terrible losses in their condo units. When they were here in the past, they had photos they showed that looked like police officers because there was a flag on them. I passed them when I was down there, and they were in snow and slush and stuff up to their knees. So it's like you have a whole neighborhood, if there's a medical emergency, anything, you just can't get access, you can't get out during some of those events. So that's a significant priority for that.
I mean, part of the things we're going to be looking at, and that I'm sure DEP and EPA will have comments on, is that, you know, they're going to be really focused on the sewer separation components of this and less on flood relief, because that's more where their focus is.
And that's combined sewage impacting people. So I think they'll give that a high priority, just like they have Puerto Rico, Texas, Florida, Georgia, any of those other areas in the country.
Any other questions? Okay, Dave, I guess you're gonna be up with all the budgets.
Sure. So we passed out our proposed budget, and tonight, with your approval, would be looking for 3 votes. One would be to approve the operating budget. Secondly would be to approve the capital improvement plan. And third would to approve a revised rate and fee schedule. And I just want to expound upon the revised schedule a little bit, sort of allude to what Peter asked earlier. We sort of got caught off guard with the Westland Creamery Gorelick issue. So we're not too sure how that's going to impact us this year. So we wanted to put a fiscal plan together that's conservative. We're not going to panic yet, but we're assuming they'll phase out some of their products over the summer into the fall. So we're assuming we'll still have them for probably 2 billing cycles in next fiscal year. And whether they keep in the juice business for the summer, it's a good, you know, product for them in the summertime, and then phase that out eventually. It's still unknown. So we revised our rate and fee schedule, and we need about a 4% rate increase to, you know, allocate the loss for those 2 billing cycles over the course of fiscal 19. So those would be the 3 votes we'd be looking for tonight. And last Wednesday evening, we had our public rate hearing. Commissioner Prudian was here, senior staff. So statutorily, we took care of that last week, and we're available here tonight to answer any questions about the budget or any concerns you might have.
Go ahead, Dave.
At our last meeting, we discussed the safety plan portion of the consent decree. And we had a vote that was approved to have a line item identified for the safety plan so that it would ensure, as I said that night, that it actually gets done. And so have you pulled out a line item that has some type of funding that would support that effort?
At this time, we did not add a line item in the budget for that. Mr. Fennell, I believe, has done some research on the issue. He could probably fill you in. And at a later time, we could always amend this budget if the board sees fit.
Well, we already voted to do that, and it hasn't been done. So we, Bob, are you still working on that?
Well, no, I've did some due diligence researching Boston Water and Sewer.
That's through the chair.
But we also have our own sanitary sewer drain emergency response plan that was written, submitted, and approved by DEP this year. So we do have a plan that.
Yeah, we discussed all that at the last meeting.
Right,
And we discussed in that we would, as the public comments that were accepted, that we have one that replicates Boston Water and Sewer's plan and not a little skimpy one?
Well, Boston Water and Sewer.
No, I'm not here to debate that. That's what the board voted on
Well,
and directed.
I'm here to give you the information, Commissioner,
Yeah.
that you asked for.
Okay, what can you give me for information?
Well, I looked at the budget, and there's no actually line item in the Boston Water and Sewer
I
budget for a
understand that.
plan. There's a line item in the Boston Water and Sewer for a SSO ERT division. That's what their line item is.
Okay.
That line item is for $600,000 for 7 employees.
Yeah, and that's for a larger facility than.
That's
we
for a
have.
larger facility.
Okay.
Currently, Boston has 1,500 miles of sewer pipes.
I'm trying to find out if you put that together yet.
I'm putting it together, I'm gonna give you the
Okay.
information right now.
No, I mean, a number with the treasurer so that we have a line item added into the budget that we were gonna vote and
Well,
approve.
if you let me finish, Commissioner, I'll let you.
Okay, go ahead.
Currently, the Boston Water and Sewer Commission has 1,500 miles of sewer pipes. Lynn has 147. There's 39,000 catch basins in the city of Boston.
Yeah, I know the,
We have
let him talk,
3,500.
All right? He's got the
So we're
floor,
saying,
I'll talk.
if, just by my minimum research that I've done, looking at the Boston Water and Sewer Commission, the size of their operation compared to our size of operation, they probably can afford and do need an SRO team that they fund at $700,000 a year for 7 employees. We're not in the capacity to be able to fund those people. I believe our superintendent of sewers right now, Neil Johnson, who helped write the emergency response plan, is now in the capacity to implement that plan with the workers that we've just hired. And I think that's the funding right now, and they're capable of doing it because of the small operation that we have.
Mr. Chairman.
So that's my conversation and the research that I've had with the treasurer.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
Call.
Okay. I understand Boston Water and Sewer very well, and I've spoken to them many times over the years and visited them. And I know we're not Boston Water and Sewer, but they had a good plan for emergency response. And we don't have a good plan for emergency response. And, wait a minute, I'm talking, please. And so, the people that live in that area entered into the consent decree during the open-up period, and that was one of the things they asked for, was to get protections down there for them with the same type of response, which is putting up signs in the area, so people know, don't go down this street if you see water, so we don't have a big parking lot full of cars out there when we have flood events. So we reroute emergency traffic, police traffic, have an organized plan for that, school traffic, so they don't go through contaminated floodwaters, or wash out people's properties with truck routes that go through those areas, etc. And you could go on. And they also have, that connects to the CMOM program, which we don't do well, is documenting the sewer overflows, the quantities, etc., and how to do that. And the cleanup afterwards, post-cleanup, so people aren't left with human waste and other human byproducts out there that are hazardous in the neighborhood. And it's very detailed. And CMH2 Hill put that together for them, who we had for a contractor for many years. And we debated that at the vote that was taken here that was passed, to have a plan like Boston Water and Sewer for the agreed upon submitted petition in the consent decree. And that motion was approved. And to have a line item that separates the cost to putting together the safety plan. So if you guys can work on that a little bit more and come back with that, at some time we're gonna have to amend the budget to have a line item for that. If we don't have a line item on it and we don't put the resources forward, don't expect it to happen. And so that's why we took that action. We don't want to see people, when we know, right in Massachusetts, we have a good heavy hitter, high performer that took all the groundbreaking work to put this together, so we don't have to bear those costs of picking up pieces of that plan and putting together our own plan. So
Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, so my understanding was, Bob, that the plan addresses those issues. It was more a question of being able to implement the plan, right?
We're looking for a line item for the plan.
Right, no, I get that, but I mean, the plan that we
The plan was
have.
submitted and approved by DEP, so
I
it
understand.
wasn't good enough for DEP, they wouldn't have approved it.
No, I get
and
that,
told us.
but a lot of the things that Commissioner Ellis are mentioning are in the plan already, aren't they?
Plan. We have a plan that was approved by DEP.
Yeah.
And so there is no cost of a line item at Boston Water and Sewer for a plan. They have a team that they pay $700, $600 something
No,
thousand dollars.
I get that.
But they're a larger
Yeah,
organization.
we're about 10% of what they are, I mean, you know, it seems like.
Yeah.
So the way I was thinking about it was, it wasn't really gonna be that expensive, because a lot of the things are in the plan that was approved, it's just a matter of implementing them better, right? And that wouldn't be a big cost, I didn't think.
Go ahead, Anthony.
So in the CIP plan, we have a line item called the CMOM Long-Term Preventative Maintenance Plan. There's allocation of $250,000 a year for a 3-year period. So as far as in the budget, it's in the CIP. You've just approved 3 engineering firms this evening for the tune of $500,000. So I'm sure within that budget, a plan can be put together. And again, it's in the CIP currently. So there is a placeholder for that.
Go ahead, Dave.
We have a plan that preventive maintenance is very different than a safety plan. Okay? The Boston has a standalone safety plan. And we, because of the type of impact, as these neighbors that here could tell you, that they're having down there, that people are being stranded in cars, in cold water, senior citizens, stranded, water that has combined water and sewage products from households, chemical discharges from our chemical discharge permitting. We need to have a safety plan. We voted for that. The people put that, and if you read the part of the consent decree where the filing came and was put in, you'll see why we need that. And it was described very well to prevent people from having loss of life. We had a person on Alley Street that I know that gave me a call, said, Dave, it was so bad, I got stuck in the car during the flood. It was just a little water when I started down the street. It ended up, it went into the glove compartment, the pressure on the doors, it was squirting through the doors, I couldn't get out, and it was in cold weather. And he could not call anybody, couldn't get anybody. He had to call a private tow company, not an emergency responder, because we didn't have a plan in place with a number to call during one of those events to have coordination of city resources, which we should support with the city budget also, is help them out with their budget for this, for people that are gonna take part in this, like other people do with their plan, and protect those people. And we have that in the consent decree. Everybody said, yeah, we agree with that. And also, the parties on the other side, the federal, U.S. Department of Environmental Protection agreed on that submittal that was put in. So they agreed to that. And they also agreed to the Department in Massachusetts, Mass Department of Environmental Protection agreed upon that submittal. And we had nothing that we said back and forth on that. And we said at the last meeting when we had a lot of people here, and they had up photos of the extreme flooding and the hazard, that's what we need. We can't go on our website, we don't have the staff to take calls. People don't get that in their literature to know who to call and know that somebody's gonna come. We don't have people to put out horses in areas to block off streets. We need a line item that puts in there what is needed to get the safety for these people, protect their properties, And when these things are going on, we have a long period before they're gonna see relief with a pump station down in that area. That's a unique solution they're probably gonna need. And we can't keep putting them in these hazards like this. And we have liability. Somebody loses their life down there, and we've talked about this enough, and we knew about it. We wish we had a line item, and we did something, and we had an organized plan. And I don't wanna be sitting here as a commissioner and be responsible personally for that. And we didn't, and we voted. So by the next meeting, can you do what the order from the board was? And come back with that plan? Don't tell me it's part of that little document that when I called up the phone number on there and I asked, hey, it has you listed on here as a city department that's gonna respond, hey, we know nothing about it, that you have a plan. So we need to get a plan. And we've got some contractors in place. Maybe it's time to use one of those contractors or somebody that knows the plan, the CMH2 plan, and put one that's appropriate for our scale of an organization that will protect our residents. It's about men, women, children, elderly that live in our community.
Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, just one thing I want to say to that. So, one thing I will say is the last big storm we had down there, since then, that storm you're talking about, I remember that was really bad. Since then, Mayor McGee has implemented, I thought from the last storm we had, a pretty effective emergency response team that I've never seen before. I think you're on it
Yes.
too. And, they had a whole setup at the police station where any of the counselors could go. I've never seen that before. And they had high water vehicles in case anyone needed them. They were more prepared. One thing that I think hasn't happened, but I think they were in the process of doing with this team, and everyone was involved, fire department, police department, water and sewer, anyone you could think of was there. It was pretty good. And state people is the part that you're talking about, Dave, is the part where people know, who to call and that sort of thing to make the best use of that, what's available. We tried making calls, but it was sort of new, when it started to let people know, where to park, where to go, the affected areas, because that last storm, that one there was supposed to be worse than the one with the snowstorm. Ended up, it wasn't quite as bad, but they were more prepared. So I didn't know, whatever we do here, if we could coordinate with the city too, because you're right. I mean, I think everyone working together and getting to that last piece. You can have everything set up that you want. If people don't know who to call and what to do, you're not making the most effective use of the policy. So I just think that, coordinating with them too would be helpful.
Go ahead, Dave.
I think a thing that would be helpful for us is if we all got a copy of the Boston plan and our plan. Ours won't take up much more paper than this. And we can look at it, and you'll get an idea of the lack of detail that we have in our plan and the amount of resources, but it's a good roadmap. It's a good roadmap to where to end up. And to see the consent decree filing that the neighbors entered into that said this is what we believe we need for these reasons. And that connects the dots on why we're doing this over the small document that we put in to the federal government. And I have talked to some people at City Hall, and they seemed receptive of the idea that within our plan, we could offset some of those expenses that are our obligation with them doing what needs to be done. And that was seen as a positive.
Just one last thing. I think they're committed to doing that. I mean, the mayor himself was pushing cars out of snowbanks.
Absolutely.
Well,
it was in the water pushing out.
Yeah. And he called a little raft to get some people out of their houses down on River Street Place now there. So I think they would be more than willing to try and, you know, make
And
emergency response plan work.
if it's important, CMOM's important, you have a CMOM line item. Safety plan's important, as we said, give it a line item. I don't know why people are resistant to following the vote of the board. That was the vote of the board. And that's what was entered in, and I had the, which I don't have with me tonight, the consent to pre-filing from the neighbors.
Okay, now let's get back onto it, with the budget. We can't change the budget tonight anyway.
You could if you so chose.
But then it's going back to square one, right?
Before you tonight is the proposed budget, we passed out.
Okay. So we're voting on the proposed budget that's up there tonight. Go ahead, Dave.
We voted to have added into that budget, which wasn't done by staff, that was present at the vote, to have a line item put in there.
We voted to have them look into it.
No, we did not. That's not the motion I would make. I've made many over the past 20 years, and I made it knowing what I was going to say when I was going to say. And it was to enter a line item. We talked about it. You can hear it on the tape.
But if the city's already doing a lot of this,
They're
how
not
do we
already.
get in the middle of this?
They're not.
They're not doing it.
They're not, and it's our...
Peter, didn't you just
and
tell us that the mayor was?
Under
We're
the...
working on it.
Are you going to speak from the chair?
Yeah,
That somebody
I'm
else should take the chair, because those are the rules, Robert's rules. Are you ready to pass that over?
I'm ready.
Okay, so you're going to pass over,
Not
so
yet.
run the, okay. So if you can go back to Robert's rules.
I
I'd
can also
appreciate it.
limit everybody to speak for 5 minutes too,
You know,
under Robert's rules.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Sam?
Can we like have a discussion about what the topic is here? You might not like the agenda, but I'm not saying anything that's inappropriate. I'm not using foul language, I'm not yelling. We voted to have a plan in place with a line item so that we would know that we were drawing from a line item and were assured that it was going to take place. That's not a lot to ask for something that's important within a budget.
Peter?
So, all right, I think everybody wants the same thing here. You know, we want to be safe, we want people to be safe, we want people to feel comfortable to know where they would call if there's a problem. And some of the issues that Commissioner Ellis brought up. So would we be able to pass the budget with I'd like to make a motion that we get a proposal after coordination with the city in our plan, a look at the Boston plan with a proposal by the next meeting.
I'll second that
For
if that's
for a cost, you know, so we would pass the budget, but we would move forward with with some of the issues that you bring
If you're
up.
making that in the form of a motion, I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? Now, Dave, this isn't going to affect the budget or passing the budget or in any
No,
way?
passed it this evening, and something was brought to the July meeting that we'd like to amend the budget by, we certainly do.
We can amend it down the road anyways, right?
That's right. You can always do that.
Okay, roll call.
All right, Commissioner O'Connell.
Yes.
Commissioner Pucci is absent. Commissioner Ellis.
Yes.
Commissioner Prudian.
Yes.
And Commissioner Trahan.
No. Okay, now Dave, you're going to have to continue on.
So I believe the motion was made
Yeah,
for us to get a
Okay,
plan for the
we got to
next
vote
meeting.
on
Yeah, we
the,
need a vote to approve the
So,
budget.
item A would
Keep
be
the
the-
doors open and keep people employed and keep on doing our jobs.
okay.
You don't, you know.
All right, so we got to make I need a motion to pass A on the budget, the proposed budget.
So moved.
Chair will second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Okay, Commissioner O'Connell.
Yes.
Commissioner Pucci is absent. Commissioner Ellis.
No.
Commissioner Prudian.
Yes.
And Commissioner Trahan.
Yes. Dave?
The capital plan,
Yep. We're going to have a vote on the capital plan now also. So I have a motion to accept the capital plan.
So moved.
Chair will second it. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Capano?
Yes.
Commissioner Tucci is absent. Commissioner Ellis?
No.
Commissioner Kudian?
Yes.
And Commissioner Tran?
Yes. So, where do we go from here
And
now?
the third item would be the revised rate and fee schedule.
So we have to have a motion to,
So, just with that, so the rate and fee schedule
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
takes into account the Westland Creamery, right?
Yes.
Like you explained, there's probably, we're hoping for 2 quarters where they would still be in operation, and then this takes into account the rest.
All right, and then we'll realize the full impact of their loss of next year's budget, the fiscal 20 budget.
It's gonna be a major hit, though.
I know.
How much in revenues do they supply?
They did about
2.2 million altogether.
1.9 million in water and sewer fees, and then a couple $100,000 on the industrial pretreatment program.
It's a lot of small rate payers that you have to have it.
A hell of a lot.
They're gonna be able to-
Now, does someone make a
To
motion?
the city of Lynn,
Yeah.
What's that?
a big shot to the city of Lynn.
No, I know, with no notice either.
Peter, you're gonna make a motion to, okay,
So,
and I'll second the motion. Chair will second the motion. Roll call.
Okay, Commissioner Capano?
yes.
Commissioner Tucci is absent. Commissioner Ellis?
No.
Commissioner Kudian?
Yes.
And Commissioner Tran?
Yes. So that's the last one for you, Dave? Okay, new business?
The treasurer's contract expires, he has a memo in his package. If you want to discuss in an executive session, or you just want to make a motion to extend it in accordance with the memo in your package, it's up to you.
Motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve as presented.
Do I hear a second on the motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call?
Okay,
On the
Wait,
motion.
hold it. Dave, go ahead, discussion on the motion.
Is that basically an extension of what other people before him in the process has received?
That's what it said on the paper that.
Well, I'm
Yes.
asking the question.
It was on your paper in your
Yeah, I
package.
realize that.
Okay.
I know why I'm asking the question. So what was the answer to that? Is
Yes.
that basically what all the other people before you
Yes.
got? And then you're towards the end of the cycle of management people? Okay. And you're gonna get this line item in your budget and get it back to us?
I believe there was a vote this evening that we're gonna do some homework between now and the next budget.
So that'll be good work for something the ratepayers actually need desperately. So work hard on it.
Roll call?
Commissioner Capano?
Yes.
Commissioner Tucci is absent. Commissioner Ellis?
Yes.
Commissioner Kudian?
Yes.
And Commissioner Tran?
Yes. That's it?
Motion to adjourn.
There was one more item there, C. You want to talk about C?
Who's that?
The non-contract, non-union employees.
Oh, I thought that, okay. Yeah, all right.
That was David. There are 9 non-contract, non-union employees. Through the course of time, the schedule has sort of been interrupted from the collective bargaining. They got their last adjustment on May of 2015 it was approved. It expires on June 30th of 2018, so it was a 3-year adjustment. And they got salary adjustments in accordance with collective bargaining and Mr. Travers, myself, and everyone who has a contract. So their salary adjustments expire on June 30th of 2018. They're looking for a 3-year similar contract as the collective bargaining group and as the contract employees got in accordance with, and the same as Mr. Travers just got, from July 1st of 18 through June 30th of 2021. I can give you the names of the employees, I can give you whatever
Can you
you...
give us some of the, put some faces to those people?
Sure. Superintendent Harold Samuelson of the Water Department, who's here. Neil Johnson, Superintendent of Sewers was here. Bob Tina's here, Superintendent of Treatment Facility. Rick Dawes, Superintendent of Water Supply. Dan Small, who's the Park Ranger. Rayanna Hughes, who's here. Ashley Keeley, who's our new engineer technician. Bill Russo, who's our construction services, and Ryan Boisel, who's here. And they don't have contracts, and they typically follow the collective bargaining. Back in the days of Commissioner Lozey, they were sort of shuffled off schedule. So they're 18 months behind the collective bargaining group, and they're up now.
And
So-
these are all Lynn residents.
Yes, we have a residency requirement,
It
yes.
has to be to work here, Dave.
I know that. I asked
Um,
for a reason.
What's your recommendation on this, Danny?
I would support them in getting similar adjustments that the collective bargaining group got.
All right.
Mr. Travis got tonight, and everyone else has got.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead.
There's a motion on the table, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded, any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Okay, Commissioner Capano?
Yes.
Commissioner Calucci is absent. Commissioner Ellis?
Yes.
Commissioner Kudian?
Yes.
And Commissioner Trahan?
Yes.
Danny, does that bring everybody equal now amongst all the,
Well, yes, collective bargaining's done,
yeah,
and this group is done, but again, they're off schedule, and then the individual contracts come up as they come up.
okay,
So it's a little, the timing is difficult, but it is what it is.
yeah.
Maybe at some point we can get that back into sync somewhere. We'll have to talk when we do the bargaining again.
Right, well, we could have done that with this group, but we would have to offer them 18 months to get them back in the collective bargaining group, and they didn't,
Right.
they didn't really want to shortchange themselves, it wasn't fair to them, so.
But it was much easier then, and you didn't have a difference in cost of living factor or anything going into effect.
Correct, so you guys support them, so it's good.
What's the wish of the board?
Motion adjourned. Second.
Roll call. No, just,
Aye.
everybody,